Welcome to Arsenal Above All. I hope all is well. That was an interesting Saturday night. Not the one that we all wanted and wished for, but a lot to talk about after the disappointment of midweek as well, with the exit from the League Cup. Disappointing exit from the League Cup. I've got Bes Kelmendi and Brian to talk about it with me. We've got a lot to chew on and get our teeth into. So without further ado, let's go. Welcome to the show, Bes. How you doing? It's good to see you for a long time. How you doing, man?
Thanks for bringing me back, and good to see you both in good shape, because we're just getting by this 5th of November, as we know, Guy Fawkes night. But I surrender before I say anything prolific, vulgar comments, shall I say.
No worries. Thanks for coming back, and thanks for your time in advance. And it's good to see you again. And I've also got Brian Haley with me. Brian, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I'm still not entirely recovered from yesterday. But yeah, we'll get through it. We'll pick the pieces out of it.
Yep. Basically, at the end of the day, Saturday night, we obviously went up to Newcastle. We'll talk about the West Ham game, but the fact of the matter is we played Newcastle at St James's Park, big Saturday night game, and we were robbed again by PGMOL. We lost to a dodgy goal, and that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching. Thanks, Brian and Bes, for your time. PGMOL, can go take a whatever. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately.
Oh, come on,
That was beautiful, Michael. That was beautiful.
Yeah, let's start it properly. No, thanks for your time, gents, as always. And it's after the buzz of the win over Sheffield United last week. It seemed such a long time ago. We went to West Ham in midweek, and we surrendered. Really, we didn't show up, and we got turfed out of that cup, and it was fine. Okay, everyone's saying bad performance, but it was with some of the reserves, and we'll bounce back on Saturday night yesterday against Newcastle. I'll start with you, Bes. Obviously, we start with the lineup. Obviously, we kind of expected that lineup. The only change, which was the one that kind of threw a spanner in the works, was Odegaard's omission with an injury. Apparently, he picked up in training just before the game. But in terms of the performance, and basing it off the last one, because that's all you can really do, there was a lot more fight. Obviously, we saw that in some of the tackles and some of the instances of the game. But what's your thoughts about the lineup and the performance in that first half, Bes, in terms of what we had to withstand and what we stood up to?
That's a very good couple of questions, shall I say, because simply I do think we showed more desire in this, shall I call, loss, the way it happened. Okay, the West Ham one, we can just take it with a pinch of salt, because it's the League Cup. Technically, we should go for the bigger cups to make us look like a big boy in our team now, after we've been through all that period. In my eyes, please, Michael and Brian and other Arsenal fans alike, I'm not going to scapegoat anyone, but I just want to say only this. I prefer Declan Rice to shield the defensive unit, and I prefer Jorginho more up. So at least, let's say, Rice is more able to shield them when it gets tough in the final third, as we know. And Jorginho can just shoot, because yesterday, I'll say one thing, just before the 60th minute, or was it after 60th minute, just before that, almost sent off by Kai Havertz, which again, I'm not going to attack any Arsenal fans or any other team players around from the Premier League, besides, without dragging on. I just felt like, why didn't he shoot? Like last season against Villa. Why didn't why did you just shoot? Why did you just freeze? I'm thinking, just shoot away. And just with that composure, and just something, the dynamo, if that makes sense, of the team, just didn't click yesterday, despite the so-called controversial loss, without dragging on too much to begin with, It hurts still, but all I can say is, it's just, I'm over it. Nearly over it. Nearly.
Yeah, I mean, true what Bes said, Brian, in terms of the performance, in terms of the fight, and a little bit of the spite was there. We had great performances from Saliba and Declan Rice again, as usual, who kind of stood up to the challenge in what was going on, around them. But again, what was your take on the performance in that first half? And just obviously, we'll touch on sort of the worries in terms of the going forward, as we seem to have lacked this sharpness, in front of goal, which was key last season to us, especially from outside. But what was your take on that first 45? And obviously, we'll go on to the first controversial incident, which was obviously the Havertz tackle.
Yeah, but I think that first and foremost, I think that Newcastle set themselves up not to get beat and also not to probably win the game. They effectively frustrated us. How the heatedness of the game. They were trying to antagonise as well. It just made that. I think as a performance, as a team, okay, much better than midweek. Absolutely much better than midweek. We showed the commitment. We showed the fight. I've got to give some praise to Kai Havertz, because he was there for the fight, regardless of the aspects of some, may have been a bit stupid in certain things. He was showing people that, look, I'm here for the fight. We're not going to go down here today, going down with a whimper. We're going to go down there, and we'll leave some as well. And I think that's what antagonised in Newcastle in that respect as well, because they were expecting, again, like they've done season before last, to basically try and kick us off the park and stuff like that. And we turned up and said that's not happening today. And that's one thing I can basically turn around and say, look, we gave. But the issue there was a lack of cutting edge. I think sometimes in certain games we've got to think of different ways against a different type of opposition, and in a strange way. And people could say to me, "Are you mad?" But I would have actually gone with a 2 up top, even gone 3-5-2. Do something slightly different that would have made that game slightly. It would have thrown Newcastle. I think we became a little bit too predictable. They knew what to do. They knew how to stand up to Saka. They knew how to stand up to Martinelli. Okay. And then it left kind of Eddie up there isolated in some respects. So we came a little bit too predictable. So, first half performance, you can't knock it. You're going at 0-0. You've created the better chances. They haven't even had, I don't think they had a chance until about an hour into the game. So that shows us that we did, parts of the game. But did they just allow us to effectively do that though as well, without us having that cutting edge? That's another thing we have to look at. I
think the draw definitely was a fair result. It would have been a fair result. I think we didn't deserve to lose, and we didn't probably do enough. We didn't do enough to win. Basically. So going on to the first incident, the Havertz incident, it seemed to come from an incident which was the guy that's going to feature a lot in this show, Bruno Guimaraes, who seemed to palm him off, hit him in the face. Nothing happened. The referee obviously let play go on, and shortly after that, he goes into that tackle on Longstaff. I'll admit, I was, having watched how many games, countless games, especially Arsenal away from home, on the telly, obviously, seeing a tackle going like that, we normally know what's going to happen. It's going to be a red card. The home crowd are happy; they were baying for it. Do you think he was a bit lucky to get away with that, Bes, in terms of that? Because I kind of thought that you've seen them given, and with the way the refereeing is at the moment, you just don't know what on earth which way they're gonna go down. But we've got to be balanced and fair here. I kind of think he's a very, very lucky boy to get away with that. People say it was a trailing leg that caught him, but he was kind of reckless. Do you think, Bes, or do you think the yellow card was the right decision?
Without sounding too much of a biased gooner for a long time now, entering my 21st year, and people think what they think. I'm sorry to you both, but okay, he's a lucky boy. He got pushed around. He played pretty well. Fair play to him. He played well in the hostile environment that is, St. James's Park, as we know. He did well to keep calm. And you saw him. He literally just yeah, I'll take whatever you give to me, but he didn't react. I mean, I didn't slate him. I've some friends of mine / co-workers who are Arsenal fans. Won't say names now because it's not fair on them. But for us, in the present moment, he did have a short composure to stay calm there. Because I remember for a fact, I'm using his own example, when a certain Joey Barton and Gervinho had a little running all those years back. I mean, Joey Barton got slapped in the face by Gervinho, if I remember correctly. But whatever Havertz, he showed, not just class, shall I say, but just composure, not to overreact. You remember just before the referee had a look, or the referee done is doing his job, shall we say, these so-called officials to begin with, he literally got whacked like this by a Newcastle player. I'm thinking, why are you doing that to him? But why did it? It's just and what? Yeah. What's your problem, guys? And what? Okay, is a reckless tackle. He's a lucky boy. Guy, don't get wrong. We're both. Sorry, us three guys. We're Arsenal fans at the minute, and we're doing football fans as a whole, because everyone is having an issue with this so-called thing, which we touched into. But I just felt, Kai, thank you for staying calm then, because otherwise, anyone, as I use the example, he could have been out and miss us, maybe a bigger game, maybe against Burnley, we don't know. He might turn up, maybe he might make a huge difference in the game, we don't know, because he's slowly adapting to the Arteta, I won't say Arteta ball, because it's too soon to call it now, but the Arteta way, the way we say it, how we perceive the Arteta tactics.
I totally agree. I mean, there was a couple of instances. I think there was an instance where he's Havertz is having a go back at the is it Jason Tindall, the assistant manager for Newcastle, or who he thinks he's the manager. Obviously,
he's got form, though, Mike. He's got form.
Yeah, he's telling him to shush and telling him to shut up. We'd all love to tell him if we ever had a chance to. But Brian, obviously, he kind of went into that tackle. It reminded me of the Xhaka incident with Trent last year, where we seemed like we were kind of had them where we wanted them. They were very quiet, the crowd, and then that just got everyone up. It gave them energy, it gave the players energy. It was great. It's good that they got a few yellow cards for that. So maybe that a couple of those cards was because of their behaviour, the way they were shoving them around, and obviously went off the pitch, and obviously the dissent as well. But what's your thoughts on obviously on his performance? You think it was better? Still not enough for me, but he did show a little bit more gumption in the first half, especially before falling off the second. But yeah, you think it was the right decision to keep him on or give him the yellow?
Look, it wasn't a good tackle. We know that for a start. It wasn't good, and if he would have seen red, I don't think most of us would have probably have complained an awful lot about it. But in the context of the game and the context of the opposition, sometimes you have to make tackles like that away from home, and you then got to have to rely on the reliance of the referee, and if he makes kind of the right decision one way or the other. In this instance, he kind of got away with it, but it kind of in a different way, you're kind of thinking, well, we like that commitment, because now I'm thinking future away games where it's going to get tough and stuff like that we are prepared to go and dig deep in there and stuff like that. We're not going to be prepared to go get rolled over and stuff like that. People are going to have to be prepared. The fact is that we are going to stick a foot in where we need to stick a foot in. You know,
Yeah.
we might run the risk, absolutely, but we'll be there and thereabouts. Because when it came down to it, Newcastle and Bruno particularly, he was on the edge.
Yeah.
He was on the edge the whole game.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he was on the edge the whole game. And sometimes, you know what, you actually have to have that in tough away games and stuff like that. You have to play on the edge. And I think he Bes, as you quite rightly said, you know, at the end of the day, he kept calm. It could have spilled up. It could have spilled over into a lot more, but he kept calm, and he left that to the Newcastle players at the end of the day. Because when he looked at the stats at the end of it, they got 5 yellow cards at the end of the day. We had 1.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an incident, I think, second half, where he kind of went in on the tackle on Wilson, and he was moaning, and everyone was baying for a second yellow, and the referee weren't having none of it. So there was an instance there where you've got to say, look, kind of get this guy off, because he's going to get himself sent off. Because obviously, we look back at what happened after that, which was Bruno Guimaraes again. That's his second or his third mention of the show already, and I'll just bring this up. I can't see it, violent conduct. It's highlighted. It picks it off of Twitter, and obviously the stuff at the bottom. Violent conduct is when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent when not challenging for the ball or against a teammate, team official, match official, blah, blah, blah. In addition, a player who, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face with the hand or arm is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible. So this is what I think in court. I think this is what they call Exhibit A. I think.
Yeah.
Case closed. Well, should have been case closed.
Oh.
You can just look at his face as well. You know, you just look at his face. Ball is obviously all the way 20 yards away as well. You know, because obviously where they're all looking, you can see Gordon looking that way, Almiron's looking, Jorginho's looking where the ball's gone. Bez, can you make sense for me? How does VAR or the VAR look at that and not deem it as being violent conduct? And also the fact that Jamie Carragher and the fellow pundit, is it Easy Christensen or whatever her name is, said, it's with the forearm. So it wasn't the elbow, it was a forearm. So it was kind of okay. What's your take on that?
My take on it is, because I've not seen what Jamie Carragher, I tried to kind of like push it aside. I kind of deflected after saying that Gary Neville tweet, shall we say. I just feel like, first of all, you can see that the intent is there. Nothing against him, because I'm wearing a Brazil shirt because of the Brazilian Grand Prix, as you know, but just sadly, without being, so to say, like a bad opinionated person towards Guimaraes, surely the intent is there, you know? Unless this is Star Wars, shall we say, this is the Force will be with you. Yeah, sure. But you can see the intent is there, because, okay, we know Jorginho is Brazilian origin. He plays for Italy, without being political. Sorry, Michael. But basically, I just feel like the intent is there. I mean, he had 3-4 chances until he got the yellow. Then he gets the yellow card, Michael, without waffling. I promise, without waffling. Mm-hmm. He gets the yellow card, and then he throws that little hissy fit. He goes to the referee, and what did I do? So clearly, he's the one who's a bit of more, let's say, the bigger boy compared to Kai Havertz. But Kai Havertz didn't react like that, and he got a yellow. He didn't react. But Guimaraes got 1 yellow, straight ref. What would I do? I just pushed him. I mean, the third time, you're lucky to be in the pitch, mate. It's clearly the team evolves around him. You can see it evolves around him. It'd be like Roy Keane / Vieira back in the day, shall we say, without, drifting away from the present moment of how the Premier League's changed now. We know that. But I just feel Guimaraes. I'll talk about him and I'll talk quickly about the officials, as Exhibit A, as you said. I just feel the man needs to learn that when he's wrong as a footballer, when he gets the ticking off, as we say, why are you reacting? I mean, as an official, plus he's at home, the referee will get, pressure. And you can see they will get the pressure and they'll make the wrong decision, as we know, before we get to the parent situation we'll get into. But it does tell me that clearly something's not right. Again, I don't want to waffle tonight because it's not fair on us three, but it does not feel right. It does not feel right. I don't know. It's just, what can I say?
Yeah,
What should I say, Michael? Please, what should I say?
I think we've seen it. We've seen it. We've been the victim of this sort of officiating for as long as we can remember. To be honest, and you're right with Gomeris as well. After that incident with the Havertz tackle, his head seemed to completely go. And I think it's a combination of kind of touching on what you said about Jorginho, with him being Brazilian, but then obviously playing for Italy. Because I think whenever those two have played, there's always been a coming together with those two. And I think that it might have something to do with that. Also, I think it has something to do with the fact that we were linked with him so heavily. And we didn't get that signing over the line. I think there was a mention of Arsenal in his announcement video by Newcastle. That would have been given the green light by his people, his agent, to say, okay, this is the announcement video. They said we would have kept that in. He probably would have had felt a slight against us because they do, as a Brazilian, decided not to maybe push that deal through to maybe his fellow countrymen. But there was, before that incident, before that elbow, the forearm or elbow, whatever it was, he flies into a tackle with Ben White. He misses him. And then he gets up and he does that to Jorginho. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it was so blatant, Brian, and they didn't even, suggest to look at it, because it was as clear cut as you wanted it to be. The only thing I could think was looking back to what Mike Dean said a couple of weeks ago when he was on Soccer Saturday and people just ripped into pieces about it. When he said, if we all remember that incident where Tottenham played Chelsea and they should have had a penalty at the end, but they didn't. Tottenham scored an equalising goal. I think Romero pulled Cucurella's hair.
Yeah.
And it was a foul. Mike Dean was on VAR duty that day, and he said he didn't want to send, I think it was Lee Mason or Anthony Taylor, or whatever, to the VAR because he's had a hard day. He's had a hard game. He didn't want the fans to get on his case and to make life hard for him. Basically, that's what he done. And for me, it felt like, because he booked all those players, Newcastle players, in a go. Was it 3 or 4 of them? And the crowd's on his back, and they're absolutely going crazy. So if he'd have sent off Gomeres, I don't think he would have been able to leave Newcastle. I think he'd probably still be bolted up somewhere in Newcastle now. And I think that might have been the reason that they've just kind of said, "Oh, look, don't just carry on, because we don't want to get you in trouble, Stuart. We want you to get home safely." For me, that's what it kind of felt like. It felt like they didn't do their duty in officiating that. Whatever shirt it is you've got on, whoever the opposition is, if we're watching that and we're watching the Tottenham player on the end of that, even us, all 3 of us would say that's a red card, that he has to go, bro.
Yeah. Look, Mike, I totally agree. I think the way I look at it, I watched a few matches in the Rugby World Cup recently, and the refereeing in that. Okay, now that incident, that would have been a sin bin or a red card. So one way or another, that he would have been off the pitch. Now I'm not saying that we should have orange cards and all of this malarkey within the game, because the way our fouls are and free kicks are given, we'd probably be playing 4 or 5 aside at one stage of the game. Do you know what I mean? But in football, you've got to make a decision on that. Okay, regardless upon what part of his arm he's done it. At the end of the day, the ball is way gone for a start. And he's used his forearm effectively to go into the back of his head. It doesn't matter if he's used his elbow. He's used his forearm. End of story. That's a red. That is a red. The ball has already gone. There is no intent. What intent is basically got intent to damage there.
Yeah.
End of story. End of story. I don't understand where the logic is with the guys at Stockley Park have looked at that and could not make a decision on that. I don't understand, and I don't know if it was to do with the speed it happened. They taking it in aspects of real time. It looks worse because the fact is it's slowed down, and we've got a freeze frame of it. In the speed of the game, it don't look like that. Come on, guys. As I said, in rugby, they will have looked that back, and when they look that back, there's a sin bin or there's a sending off there. End the story. And there's got to be levels of clarity. And this is where, and I know we're probably going to come on to it a bit later, but that, that's a straight red. Come on, it's a straight head.
Yeah, I mean, if that was a straight red, and whatever way you look at it, this was a yellow, I would say.
Yeah.
So he's on 2. So who would it be gone if he say the other one was a yellow? That you could say is a talking to or a yellow as well. You probably could most times referees give both players in that instance a yellow and say behave yourselves. And this is the one where he shoves Fabio Vieira, and then that's where he gets the yellow card, Bes, as you said, and he kicks off with the referee saying he only pushed him in the throat. He didn't do anything to him. Which, it's crazy. The guy was just unhinged yesterday, and I just think I think he's got this thing in his bonnet about playing against us, and especially playing against obviously Jorginho. It seems, who I'll take back to the beginning. I was surprised that not surprised that he started, but I was surprised that he was given the captaincy. I was a bit strange with that. For a guy who's not really first team, in the first team, if he was there, if everyone was fit, let's say, you'd expect that to be given to, just give it to Declan Rice. I don't understand why Jorginho got the yellow card. So I don't know. We should have been playing against 10 men. We all know that, or it could have been 10 aside. Let's say, it should have been 10 aside, but definitely should have been 10 against 11, 100%. If you're looking at it clear as day. So then we go on to the goal. Got to say, if Gabriel, because it comes from a long ball from them, and it goes from left to right, it draws Saliba and White in. It goes over towards Gabriel, and he makes an absolute pig's ear of the clearance. And he's attempting the clearance on his left foot as well, which is even more frustrating because someone was saying they were trying to clear it on his right. He wasn't. He was trying to clear it on his left foot. If he clears that, it goes out for a throw-in, and none of the chaos off of that happens. So it falls to Joe Linton, and he fires it across, whether it was a cross shot. It was absolutely shocking anyway. It was really poor. And then it looks like everyone stopped playing because it looked like the ball went out of play. So you've got to say, we're being honest there. And, Ben White, schoolboy stuff, he's got to play to the whistle. Jorginho's pointing at him, telling him, you better close him down, mate, because, the referee hasn't blown anything. Close him down. So he switches off. Talk about Raya again, Brian, in a bit. In no man's land again, he's got to do better there. It's a simple cross that he flaps at again, and we'll talk about this because there's lots of stuff online about the ball. You've seen it, the ball where for one angle it looks like it's over the line, not gone over the line, and another one from above that it looks like the ball is still on. But I'll take you to this first and foremost. Where is it? So you've got this situation a couple of weeks ago where this goal, the VAR official said this was conclusively ball out of play. It said it was absolutely 100% that this ball was out of play. So that's why the goal wasn't given. United scores. We're trying to be fair here. We're not, trying to be on an Arsenal sort of, it's an Arsenal show, but this is what we're up against, in the level of incompetence. So they said that this ball was out of play, and that looks like it. That looks it in, by anyone's imagination. And then they say this is inconclusive, so that's why they decided to carry on. So that's the first instance. So fine, okay, let's say that that's inconclusive. There may have been a millimetre that ball is showing in, but we don't know that because there's no technology there to say that's the case. Fine. Then you go to the next part, which is this. So apparently, everyone, who's played the game, we obviously haven't played the game top level. Gary Neville and Carragher have and said, "Oh, that's not a foul. He's too soft. He's not done anything. He's not pushed him." No. What I would have loved to have seen is for the rest of the game, Arsenal players going up for every header, just pushing players in the back like that. The Newcastle players in the back and see what the ref would do. Oh yeah, it's all right. Carry on, because it seems like that's all right as well. So not only is forearms smashing into someone's head all right, and you get away with pushing someone in the back when someone's in that situation. People are saying, "Oh, he bent." Gabriel bent forward to try and clear it. Yeah, because he was trying to flick the ball up and away. He wasn't trying to head it towards where the ball came from because that's where the danger was. He was trying to get under the ball up and flick it away. And that's why he was positioned like that. But the fact of the matter is, that's a push. He's getting pushed. And then the third instance, was it was handball. It came off his arm. And the fourth instance was that Gordon was offside. He was ahead of Raya. I mean, at the time, everyone was saying there's three checks there, and all of them went against Arsenal. It was actually 4. I mean, Bez, I've not seen anything like that since game 50, and more recently when Martinelli was sent off for those 2, got those 2 yellow cards in a couple of seconds. What I mean. I know you said you're not trying to be biased and stuff, but just say what you feel, man. What on earth? What the hell was that all about? I mean, incompetence? Is it corruption? A combination of the two? Lack of technology? What do you think?
Lack of empathy towards doing the right thing at the end. Without sounding vulgar, I swear to God, it feels like, surely you check it, Brian and Michael and other fans alike, okay? Also fans alike, shall we say no? Surely, okay, you check it. You do check it, okay? Yes, you take your time. They do that with tennis. They do, as Brian said, we do with rugby, which I'm actually paying quite keen interest in it. They do it somehow with F1, somehow with the, what's it called, with the NFL, without drawing too much away. But surely, make the right decision. Surely, there can't be just one person saying, "That's it, ip dib do, I want you." I'm thinking, hello, this is not schoolboy, stuff. This is something. It's already I think it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think the 3rd season now we're saying VAR. Okay, is that to help? But it's actually not even helping. It's making it worse. Yeah. I'm literally absurdly. I'm saying that wrong. I'm literally fuming inside with so much hatred, like a bad villain when nothing goes your way inside. I'm furious, but I'm trying to contain myself without exploding on here. But sounds like someone out there just doesn't like us succeeding. As you see, these ex-pundits / ex-footballers. I just read something before I touch on the thing you said as well. I heard that Michael Owen, who won the Ballon d'Or, but by doing absolutely jack in that season, rubbed Henry of his Ballon d'Or. I'll say this openly tonight. I'm a big fan of the legends that carried us over this difficult period of early 2000s and the glory years, shall we say? And he goes to say, "Oh, Arteta should be embarrassed how overreacted." I'm thinking, excuse me, Michael, excuse me. I know he played for Newcastle. Don't get me wrong. I know he hates us deep down. We know about the FA Cup final. I know he's a little Pullian, of course. Nothing against the Scousers. Nothing against the team. But him as a man, surely, how dare you say Arteta should be ashamed of himself, embarrassed that he lashed out. Arteta did the most beautiful conference when he did for Sky. I watched the BBC one as well. I was like, this man is showing that he clearly is now a non-nonsense manager that will not take a fight without lying down, as Brian said earlier. Why we have to suffer when it's the wrong decision anyway? Like we had this against other instances. But again, without waffling, it just feels like, okay, yes, you take your time to check, You do everything. 4 opportunities, and they still get around. I get it. People say, yes, Kai Havertz should be sent off. Okay, this should be sent off, as we said earlier. But this decision, surely the main component that will make or break the game for either side. How is it still the wrong decision? Baffles me. 24 hours later, going 48 tomorrow, which I'm over it. I promise you, I'm pretty much over the game now. But it just feels like, how do you make the wrong decision? It feels like literally the 2021 fiascos, with F1. Don't get me started with that one, as you know, Michael, because I've known you now almost for 2 years, I think. And even that one, I will make my own thing one day, and I'll talk about that very openly, and I'll talk much unfiltered, shall we say. And I know I'll talk about it, but just this one just feels like even worse. Yes, it's a loss. Don't get me wrong, without waffling, I promise again. It's a loss. I'll take the loss. But it's the manner that we lost it. It's just things you'll have beat by. You don't know what to do with yourself. Like, literally, I have my family around me, they tell me, what's wrong? I said, guys, do you want me to swear in front of me? I just literally said to them, do you want me to swear? Which I couldn't do that in front of my family. Kind of filter on. But it just hurts, like a bee bite. You just don't know what to do. Do you want to kill the bee, or just want to find a way out?
Yeah, you feel helpless, and it's so kind of frustrating to be in a situation. Those decisions, Brian, were decisions that we saw, or you would kind of accept if there was no VAR. VAR's only just come in, so we've seen decisions like that. There was an instance where, again, Tottenham again, they I can't remember his name, but the guy scored a goal literally from the halfway line, and Roy Carroll, the ball was about 2 yards over the line.
Sorry, Michael, Pedro Mendes. I just recalled the name, Pedro Mendes.
And he scraped it back, and they never gave it. And that's the sort of thing that we didn't. It's like if they had VAR, then obviously you would have seen it. But the decisions are still being made as if, but there's this technology to aid them, and they're still not getting things correct. I don't know how Jimenez doesn't go off. I don't know how that goal gets allowed when there's 3. They're checking it for so long, when there's 3 instances, and they're saying that it's inconclusive, so they can't give it. So you've got to do better to make things more inclusive. There was a Dortmund against Bayern. I think I tagged you guys in the tweet, and there seemed to be a little bit like in cricket where they've got the camera in the stumps, and it's looked like they've got a camera in the corner flag. And there was a clip where when Upamecano was celebrating, it cut to that camera, and it was great. You could see literally straight down the line. I don't know how much that costs, but you're talking about £1 billion business, and that's nothing. That's pennies for them to actually invest in something like that, or a ball with a chip in it, or some. They've got goal line technology. What they need is touchline technology. Why don't they make stuff like that more easier for them? Because the only answer is that they want things like this, so they've got that element of control where they can make these decisions. Because for me, incompetence is when you're in a job for maybe the first time, and you're thrown in and you're not sure what you're doing, and you kind of get things wrong, which is understandable, and then you kind of get punished for it. How many times has Stuart Atwell been demoted to League One or League Two? And then what does that mean? Why should the League One or League Two side get a referee that is incompetent? Oh, it's because he's playing at, he's refereeing there. That's suitable punishment. For me, if you're getting punished and you're still showing incompetence years later and you're still making decisions like that, that for me isn't incompetence. That's something else. That's something darker, much darker. And it's linked to referees going to Saudi Arabia, refereeing games over there, coming back for extra, for an extra bit of money. That's not right either. But I mean, you could go down the whole rabbit hole. But what's your thoughts, bro?
Look, first and foremost, okay, we've got goal line technology anyway. Okay, that effectively that line is the same line. Okay. There's no real difference. There's as you quite rightly said in the Bayern game, they've got that technology. Now I know what you're saying, Mike, with regarding to taking part of the game out of the hands of referees. But let's be honest. If you're even 10 or 15, if you're 10 yards away or 20 yards away from there, you are not going to see clearly as a referee that ball's gone over the line.
Yeah.
So you're going to need assistance with that.
Yeah, that's what's baffling because.
End off.
Yeah, because UEFA's tried that, didn't they? They had an extra official on the goal on the touchline, didn't they? And people were saying, "What the hell? You're just standing there doing absolutely nothing. Just automate it. Just get the technology invested in there. Just you've got the goal line. Just extend it."
It's literally like saying that part of the pitch doesn't matter, because when I've always said about kind of free kicks when we're shielding the ball off, okay, not touching the ball, but we're shielding the ball off. In the middle of the park, you've given away a free kick for that because you're not actually doing anything other than just shielding the ball and So you're committing a foul in some respects in other parts of the pitch.
Yeah.
Okay. But on the goal line aspect of it, it's like, well, no, you can get away with that. And it seems exactly the same. It seems exactly the same thing. We don't need to have an official on those sides of the park. It's okay on the other side. Yeah, it's great for throw-ins. But we don't actually, when it comes to the fact of either, argument's sake for corners, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
It's daft. It's daft. And the other side of it is I think what we've kind of said this in a group, and we've said, let's realise this: if that's the last game of the season, okay, and it's a relegation battle, for argument's sake, or Champions League. Okay, and a decision like that is swayed between a manager potentially either losing their job or a club losing millions of pounds on the fact of being relegated from the Premier League or missing out on the Champions League, and a referee effectively gets a one game miss.
Yeah, but
then it could effectively have a major effect on a football club as its whole, financially. Okay, come on, the assistance is there. Use the assistance. It's not a problem in rugby. They use it very well. They command games a lot better and stuff like that. Use it, and use it correctly, because it's effectively going to destroy. And that's why Mikel Arteta has basically come out and said exactly what it needed to be said months ago. Yeah. No managers, basically every manager's kind of had their little bit about it and said their little bits, but he's the first one that's decided to come out and said, no, enough is enough. They have to take. There's a responsibility that has to be taken because there's people's jobs on the line and clubs' futures that are on the line on the basis of things like that. But I'm then making decisions, and what referees are effectively doing, they're getting a one game miss, and that's fine. That's fine. They can turn up another game, or as you said, Mike, they can fly off to Saudi Arabia and get loads of money there themselves and don't have a problem. Okay, and their problems have gone. Okay,
it's crazy.
They've got to get some assistance in there, and they've got to use it more consistently and correctly, and get more people in. Look. I know I'm going on, but I know what when kind of the Gary Nevilles and the Jamie Carragher's, and we're saying about having ex-pros basically potentially going in there, and then saying about them not knowing the laws. It's a good reason why we don't need ex-pros basically in there.
Yeah, they're the reason. They're the perfect reason. Yeah, the perfect reason, because you just see the way that they've acted. Yeah. I mean, touching on that, I think the person that's come out and said stuff about it has probably been Klopp, obviously with what happened against Tottenham earlier on, and people were ridiculing him for it, and and saying what's he talking about, asking for a replay and what have you, because the thing is, what he was talking about was he wasn't talking about him Liverpool, he was talking about the game, about having, again, what Arteta said, he's talking about having better officials. This is the best product, in the world. They say it is, but you've got officials that just are not fit for purpose, and I've said that for years. Like the PGMOL are not fit for purpose. They really aren't. And people say, "Oh, you're paranoid." It's not just Arsenal, but it's mainly is Arsenal. But look at everyone else. Look at Wolves. Wolves have had it. Gary O'Neill has come out and said, "You be careful when you ref against us, because." You end up getting demoted and ref in League One, or and he said that pre-game, and he's literally had a call from Howard Webb every week saying sorry, apologies, and sadly, with the way the society we live in at the moment, I think social media has kind of made football's always been tribal, hasn't it? It's always been your team and that's it. But I think social media has made things a lot more tribal, because everything now is, meme. You've got to make a meme out of it. You've got to make a laughing stock out of it. You've got betting companies making all these long, little adverts, or just to take the mick out of a club that's lost just one game. You've got big accounts taking the mick out of people, saying, today Arteta's getting dogs abuse. But what he's talking about is about the game, about having better officials. People are trying to say, cry more and things like that. And sadly, I think social media has played its part in that. People want the clout, they want the likes, they want the retweets, they want the views and the engagements. And it's sad, really. I don't think until I think something major happens, like you said, Brian. I think Tottenham tried it years ago when this is a different type of topic where they didn't qualify for the Champions League because Chelsea finished fifth and they won it, and then they took Tottenham's place, and then Levy tried to take him to court. I think something massive will happen, and a club will. They've got the money. They can hire the best lawyers, and they could see how Webber is not in court. In a couple of years, either that or someone's going to blow the whistle on just what the hell is going on there, because it can't be incompetence if it keeps on happening like this, and it keeps on happening to certain teams, man.
Yeah, look, mate, just to interrupt, I look at Fabio Silva and the Wolves game at the weekend. The poor boy was in tears at the end of the game for a penalty which wasn't. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Come on.
Oh, they'll get an apology tomorrow. Howard Webb he's probably sent the apology through. And
can I interrupt you guys? What would the apology do even to us as fans? People go to the game, people watch to pay the bills, they watch in the sports channel. The manager, as Arteta said, as I agree with you both, Arteta even said this league is very difficult. Okay, again, we lose, because the matter that we lost is bad. But also, this point we can make or break a single drop of, I don't know, consecutive unbeaten run, for example, because we're still playing great up to this point. Even people saying we have a great start to the season. Arsenal fans want to know. I'm going to ridicule them without saying their names. They're going to be, we started much worse than last year. When it's on any zilch, when it's on any determination. I'm thinking, where are you on? I'm sorry, where are you living? I'm an Arsenal fan as well, but we're not supposed to get along. Yes, we can agree to disagree like we're doing now. We're kind of like jostling around to say, well, what happened next then? I mean, all this. I apologize, as Michael, as Brian said. Why do you demand our referee to the lower categories? What example does this set to the grassroots levels of youngsters, men and women and kids, girls? The youngsters we see. I mean, I'm going to see the Arsenal ladies and Chelsea ladies on the 10th of December. I just feel like I want to see what they do to see any difference, or how. Like, I'll give you an example. I was watching, even talking to Bayern. We're talking a lot about Bayern, funny enough, tonight. I watched Bayern versus Darmstadt, and Kimmich had a red card straight away. The 4th minute. Referee just took it in his stride, red card. Then there's some two more of the other opposing teams, red cards. Yes, by the way, 8-0. But sure, the referee said, you know what? I'll take charge now. You know what? You can see he's like, you know what? Can I just take the authority? Can I just do my job? Yeah. Like you, for example, Michael, you're the lead of the show. I'm your guest. I'll say my piece. You say a piece without sounding a destructive / inconclusively arguing, shall we say. But we're having a discussion. But it just feels like all these apologies, all this nuisance, the last, again, as an Arsenal period type time for us, what do we need to get not people on our side, / officials, but let us play our football. I mean, you can see, for example, Joe Linton near the end, okay, the game was lost. Why is he going for a cynical tackle the last milliseconds of the game? I call milliseconds. And I feel like, yes, the game was won. But why is he going for a crunching almost tackle near the end of the game? And they're like, yes, we won. I'm thinking, yes, well done, you won. But why are you going for a lunging tackle the last 10 seconds of the game? You tell me. As soon as the referee blew the whistle, just before he blew it, he you know what, I'll go for the tackle in the play. Let me just hold the Arsenal fan base / Arsenal family, because simply they lost this game. I'm going to make it more worse for them. And then we get all this apology, as you said, come tomorrow.
Pretty much, he does that because he knows he can get away with it. He's seen Ramirez get away with it all game. He knows, he's got away with the handball as well, because when you look at the goal, when the goal goes in, he looks at the referee. He doesn't run off and celebrate straight away. He's looking at, I pushed him and I've handball. He's come off my arm. And I got away with it. Oh, great. So he's a guy. He's a kid that's got away with the sweets. You know what I mean? I'm just at a loss with the way things are going at the moment, and just to how people are just making this into a tribal thing and saying, it's just Arsenal moaning, it's just Arteta moaning about it. We don't know what is he moaning for, and it's really bigger than that. And the likes of Owen and the likes of Neville and Carragher, they're just jumping on this whole MO which Talk Sport have done, and they've made fortunes of by just having this tribal thing of where they'll rip certain fan bases apart and take the mick out of them just so people can engage and stuff. And those three are doing exactly the same thing, because you only got to look at the number of interactions they've had from that by just saying, just spouting out nonsense. But anyway, let's move away from that, guys, and talk about the performances of the last couple of games. And for me, the key thing, Brian, is as Bes said, I've been slightly different this season. Obviously the way that we've approached certain teams. Arteta at the start of the season said he wants us to be a little bit more unpredictable, and a lot of that, I believe, obviously focused on Jurriën Timber and what he was going to bring to the team. Obviously, that's that crashed in the first game, and rumor has it he might be back a little bit early, so that would be amazing if he was. Obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed that he doesn't have any sort of setbacks. But it seems to me, obviously, there's a couple of things that he's done. Obviously, bringing Havertz in and David Raya, and I think that's going to be pretty much a little section of this show going forward this season. Raya, Ramsdale. For me, Raya's come in, and for all of the stats, what they say about him, that he's better at claiming crosses, he's better at claiming hitting long balls and things like that, Brian. For me, it seems like he's slowed our attack down. He gets the ball, he stays on it for a long time.
Yeah.
It's always, to me, it's like Arteta saw the way Brighton played against us last season at the Emirates when they absolutely took the mick. We had a couple of chances that game, but the way they played out from the back, the amount of time the keeper had on the ball, and it was like, it was a game of cat and mouse, and then they played around our press. It seems like Arteta has seen that, and he was like, well, that's the next phase. That's what I need to do to make us a little bit more unpredictable. And it hasn't worked because the chemistry isn't there at the back. I think whatever you said about Ramsdale, I think his energy and his communication and he's just, on it all the time. I think that those guys have sort of lacked that. I mean, people talk about, remember when David De Gea first came to Man United and how weak he looked and how long it took him before he became, a big player for them. But I just think, David Raya, he's obviously a good keeper, but it just seems to me that he's, and Havertz as well, they're just two pieces of a puzzle that we didn't really need, looking at it from the outside in, just the way that we've played. Because I'll point you to this, guys, and just made this up. So this is the big chances created so far this season in the Premier League. And as you can see, you've got Liverpool. Obviously, people are watching or listening to this. I'll spell it out for you. So these are the big chances created in the Premier League so far. Liverpool, Man City, and Tottenham have created 24 big chances. Behind them is Brighton, Aston Villa, and Brentford with 23. Then Chelsea and West Ham with 20. This was all done before the games today, so I think it's slightly changed now. Man United with 18 big chances created. Luton Town, I've put Luton Town in there because this is the top 10 plus Luton Town. Luton Town, when I put this together, they were third from bottom. I'll say that again. They were third from bottom when I made this. They've created 3 more big chances than we have this season. Now, Brian, I mean, when I thought, let me just have a look at this, and the lack of creativity I thought was a problem. But looking at that is a serious problem. How does Arteta sort that out?
that is such a difficult one because I think there is a level of obviously being set in a way of playing, Mike. And because we've played that particular way, and particularly last season, I guess, in some respects, is that we were, we were very successful at it. I think the Kai Havertz situation, my view, and I've said this to you before, my view is that I would play Kai Havertz further forward. It's just a different outlet. It's a different way of us playing. It showed in the Community Shield. I don't know how many times I can tell people when he's gone up top and he's back to goal, he's holding people off and spinning and stuff like that. That's where we're seeing the best of Kai Havertz, and effectively where he plays for Germany anyway. We're trying to create him to be a left-sided midfield player, and he's out of his depth. He's not, to me, he's not a midfield player anyway. He's a player that plays at top. I've always said he could be a better version of Olivier Giroud for us. And it's not like he didn't score goals for us when we needed him to score goals for us.
Yep.
You can't be telling me that he's not technically better than Olivier Giroud if he could play that position up top. He's got the height, he's got the strength, he's got the technical ability. Playing further forward, it'd give him the alternative. Even if it doesn't mean he doesn't play week in, week out. Giroud didn't play week in, week out, but still got goals for us.
Yeah.
So put him in a position where he will probably feel most comfortable in. He's just not feeling comfortable in that position that he's been asked to play in. So don't do it. Play to his strengths.
Yeah.
You've invested that amount of money in him. Play him to his strength. Don't try and recreate something where you're not. It's going to take a long while to recreate him to get him to do that position. We got the best out of Xhaka last season. Okay, how long did it take him for us to get that out of him? And that was out of because he was playing in a slightly different position. Yeah, it's madness. It's madness. But as in the chances created, I think we've the issues I think we've generally got there is that one. Other than kind of when we saw Eddie's goal against Sheffield United, shooting on sight aspects, we don't do enough of. We play the same way. We try and get round the back, which is great. We got found out against Newcastle about that. They effectively doubled up on us in that instance. We've got to find different ways that we can create chances than the ways that we've always done. Because otherwise we're going to find it more and more difficult to create those chances moving forward.
Yeah, I think he's got to. It's going to be interesting, Bez, what he does on Wednesday against Sevilla, because for me it looked like Eddie picked up a pretty bad knock before yesterday on his foot. Then he carried on a bit, but as Brian was saying. I think teams are obviously a little bit cuter and smarter with Saka now. Obviously getting doubled up, and for me again, it seems like Saka just seems to be so slow in moving the ball. He gets the ball and I can't remember the last time he's beaten a man. He's tried to get some on the outside. It's always holds the ball, passes it maybe back to Ben White or Odegaard if he's there, and then goes for the return pass into space. But he just seems to slow everything down, because if he plays quicker, when he speeds it up, that's when he beats his people. He gets inside, because we know what he's going to do. He's going to get the ball and he's going to cut inside. He's never going to go on the outside. But what do? You've got Reece Nelson there on the right. Who you can play him. He's getting £100,000 a week, but he's not playing any minutes really. He goes to Vieira as his first choice. You've got Trossard who's on the other side. Martinelli tried yesterday. What do you think the options are? What would you do against Seville? Would you play Trossard instead of Eddie? Because again, Eddie was lacking again. Didn't offer anything. He had an air shot in the second half, which led to a chance for them when they almost similar to the goal. It was a long ball and they almost got in there, but that came from an air shot from Eddie. He was really poor. He was just dominated by their two centre backs. What do you think about the creativity? What would you do, man, going forward, especially Wednesday game? We have to make sure we win to get through to the next round, and obviously against Burnley.
I personally love, as Brian said, I love Kai Havertz. I loved him the way he plays against Man City, a forward in that central line, not the wing, so we say.
Yeah.
Even yesterday, I mean, okay, not yesterday. What am I saying? The game itself, the way he did that layoff to Martinelli, that was like Giroud-esque, as I put it. Without putting the same bracket for, not yet anyway. Don't get me wrong, I saw a clip of Kai Havertz when he was playing for Bayer Leverkusen before Chelsea. Who's still a captain, I believe, at a very young age. Completely, creativity was like literally, again, I don't know something much. He's our team, our beloved team. Be like Alexis Sanchez, do everything, the dirty work at the front. Everything. Say we had Ozil there, we had Cazorla there. Again, we're going back in time. But Giroud pressed forward. He's like, you know what, I'm a striker. I'll do the dirty work. Which he did. As much as people gave him stick for a man who scored over 100 goals for us. He had a little drought, before we could have won that Premiership, instead of Leicester, but that's, I would say, that's life now. But I just feel like utilize Kai Havertz, as we mentioned. Utilize him. You pay 65 million, which is not cheap.
Yeah.
Utilize him where he needs to be. Okay, yeah, you put Trossard on the left. Say, okay, this for me Wednesday. Wednesday, Tuesday. I forget which day. I'll say put Kai at the front. Put Trossard on the left. Nothing against Martinelli. Saka, I'll say yes to play him. But make him play in a way, Saka especially, he's unpredictable. You see, for example, the Everton goal when played against Everton, we beat a little bogey team, shall we call it, away from home, /Man City. We saw, like, Trossard is just unpredictable. I think with Saka, he just needs a little legend / a little coach, just to give him a little pep talk. Say to him, undercut. Just don't go, I'm sorry, not bad. Just don't go some undercut. Just go on the inside, or just make something out of nothing, or just shoot like we saw again yesterday. Just shoot. Yeah. Don't go for all that part. Just walk it in, as you said before, Michael, together. Obviously, we said with Brian before as well. Just don't try to walk it in. Try and shoot from distance. Go for glory. Yesterday, it was 60 minutes plus. You had 3 chances as a unit. Surely you could have gone for glory. That was a great chance by one of the players. I don't know who it was then. I'm sure it was, again, Jorginho, sadly. I wish he wasn't the captain yesterday, to be honest. But without attacking our players, I just... Utilize, you know what I mean? Like a dynamo, when you try to get it up to work, just utilize what you have with you. And then all the jigsaw puzzles will slowly fall back in his original piece. Like, don't fix what's broken. Sadly, it feels like at the minute. I hate to say it.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. I think the midfield project that he's got for Havertz hasn't worked. It's not benefiting the team, and the worry is now that you've got the left side, left eight, if you want to ask, because he played on the right yesterday, Havertz. It was one of his better games, but still weren't enough. For me, he needs to be producing goals or assists in that position, because that's what Xhaka was doing on the left hand side. So I think he's got to really think about maybe even playing Zinchenko as a left eight, playing him there, and then you can have Tomiyasu behind him, who has that more defensive security, and then or even Trossard as a left eight, or play Trossard a little bit more centrally, because I think with Trossard he can go left and right. He's not your natural winger who's going to beat people on the outside. If he plays more inside, in a more creative attacking midfielder, he can go left or right, because obviously the way he plays, and so the options are there. And then you're having someone like Havertz up there who can play obviously wall passes like Giroud did, and he's fast as well, so you can slip him in and he can get away from people if you wanted to do that as well.
Can I please interrupt you 2 seconds? Sorry, you finish.
He's got the options. He's got the options, but you just hope that he fixes it really quickly, because I think for the time being he probably has to go Havertz up front, because obviously Nketiah did come off yesterday with about 10 minutes to go, because he got a bad whack on the foot and obviously struggled to carry on a little bit. But just finishing, what is the more important in January now in terms of investment? Because we definitely have to do something, Brian, in terms of getting a body in, whether that's someone that we shift from our plans for the summer and we shift it to now. But what would you say? Would you say it's a striker? Would you say it's a centre midfielder, defensive mid, or would you say it's a winger to maybe put the fire under Saka a little bit? What would your choice be out of those three?
Well, there's a couple of scenarios really. We've got to look at the actual squad in itself and getting players back, because when we look at the bench yesterday, it didn't look that. It looked a little bit weak, if you ask me, and that's just because of personnel. As we put the amount of personnel was missing. But in saying that, some of that personnel has either not performed this season, haven't even started a game this season. There's been general issues around that. The issue we got, yes, another striker would be great. But who are we going to get in January as a striker that's going to come in on a long contract anyway? And if a team's going to give up, a main player from their squad in January, it'll be very difficult. In midfield, could we tempt the young chap from Sociedad? But again, that's going to probably cost in excess of £50 million, give or take. As for a winger, look, Reece Nelson, as you said, like Reece Nelson is there on £100,000 a week at the end of the day, and he should be the one that effectively should be putting it up Bukayo Saka, to be honest with you, because it'll give the alternative of being the right footer on that to beat a man, rather than checking inside.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
mm-hmm. And that's
it's too predictable. I'm sorry,
yeah.
But it's just too too predictable now.
And that's where I feel that we've got that kind of problem, because if we do get the ball wide, we don't get enough bodies in the box. We don't commit enough people forward. And the fact is that when we try to commit people, we should be looking at a Havertz making that commitment with the front three to make bodies in the box. And we don't seem to be doing that, because we're always looking for the ball to come back inside. So Saka will check inside and switch it in left-footed around the corner. Yeah. The same thing with Martinelli on the other side. They will come in, and they will come around that way. What we want sometimes is the difference. Get the traditional winger that will get to the byline and then you commit your bodies. I watched the part of the Brentford highlights, and the way that they commit bodies forward with Mboma and Visa and and Jensen and stuff like that, they're prepared to commit bodies in there, but they change the way they do it. They either go one way or the other. They give the option. But they make sure with those options they got bodies moving forward. We know we're too predictable. We think, okay, Bukayo's going to come inside, so he'll either have a shot or he'll pick one at the far post, and it just but we've got personnel there that could change things up. But we're probably. I personally think probably in and around a central midfield area would probably be where we need to strengthen, because we're not too sure what's going to happen with Thomas Partey. Yeah, he keeps breaking down for a start. Mm-hmm. We've got ESR again now, kind of breaking down as well. Yeah. So it's that midfield area. And at the end of the day, as much as I love Mohamed El Nani as a person in the club, he's at the end of the day, he's not going to necessarily carry us through the season. So.
No, you got to worry though as well. Both Anani and Partey will be away in January.
African Nations as well.
African Nations, and so will Tomiyasu, who's been probably one of the best players for us in the last couple of weeks. So, what would you say, Bez, in terms of those positions? What would you say is the most important for us to address in January?
Without sounding too much dramatic, okay, yes, we would as Arsenal family would love a natural born scorer, shall we say? I know it's too much to ask in this day and age. Someone like an Aubameyang / Lacazette bracket, shall we say, before they.
Yeah.
Well, Aubameyang, sadly, we know what happened at the end, but that's life as we know. But
would you go for Tony then? Maybe.
it's hard, but on paper, again, people say Tony's got the presence, got the height, but something about what's his name, Ollie Watkins. He's a gooner, a bit like Ramsdale. He plays with a heart in his sleeve. I know today didn't score. I know Villa lost. I need to see what happened. I like both equally. Don't worry, because I mean, something about, I don't know, Watkins, something about him. He just looks more natural with the ball. I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, he scored a hat-trick, I think, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Tony personally, what he's done in his personal life. That's his business, as we know. Tonali's done it, as we know. Tonali being a Newcastle player, without waffling about them. But something about Watkins is... I'm more lured towards Watkins more or less than I am with Tony for some reason. Yes, Tony's got the presence, but people know. He's tall. Oh, yeah, what's he going to do? But I think with Watkins, he's just unpredictable. A bit like, what's his name? Trossard is, as you said yourselves. He can play up front, drift in, do this, do that. But we need that striker who can literally score from out of nothing. I mean, for me, I think I like both. But something is telling me I prefer Oli. Again, he's a gooner. Yes, he can play for the shirt. We know that, the heart in his sleeve. But something about, again, it's tricky. But I've had to pick, between the two. Yeah. I think Watkins for me is the better choice.
Yeah, it will. I rate Watkins. I think he's a very good striker. He's done well, obviously, since he's come from Brentford, and he's kind of worked his way up. And obviously, he's in the England. He was in the last England squad, and I think he scored, didn't he? So, I think he ticks the boxes for Arteta. He's hardworking. He seems humble. Keeps his head down. You don't see anything about him in the papers and stuff. Obviously, Tony, you have, and you've seen stuff of some of the shenanigans he's got up to when he's been on holiday, with certain videos he's been saying about disparaging videos about his club and stuff like that. So I totally get Watkins. I just think with the way Villa are at the moment, I think they're fifth at the moment. They're in the Conference League, and put all your money on Unai getting that, because his track record in those sort of competition, they'll probably end up winning that. And I don't think they're going to be. It's going to be silly money for them to part with him in January. So that's probably going to be one for the summer, if anything. The Tony one, obviously, by if you believe reports that us and Chelsea are the ones that are in for him, and he's Brentford are asking for 80 to 100 million pounds, and we know when Todd Bowley knows that Arsenal are involved, and that's it. He goes all out to secure that. So I think pretty much Chelsea, he will end up at Chelsea in January. But yeah, I think it's going to be the midfield. I think the fact that Jorginho is starting games for me is a worry. The fact that he's captain is a worry for me as well. He's a good guy and everything, but he shouldn't be nowhere near being the replacement or in the squad, and only to a certain extent. But that is because Thomas Partey is again broken down and is unreliable. So that's why I think that's where we need to address in January, because Declan Rice has been amazing, and he's literally run that midfield by himself so far this season. Even when Partey was playing, he was playing right back, wasn't he? and playing the inverted right back role. So I think it's got to be someone in midfield. So whether it's Zubimendi, as Brian was saying, in Sociedad River, they take the release clause. But yeah, interesting few weeks to come. Obviously, we've got Seville. We'll be looking for a little bit of revenge. We'll be back Wednesday night with a review of that. Hopefully, we will do the business to secure our path to almost secure our path. I should say there's other 2 games after that, but pretty much secure our path if we win that one. And then we've got Burnley, Vincent Kompany's Burnley, who are struggling. So probably put some money on Eddie to score another hat-trick in that one, and everyone to be happy again. But yeah, disappointing night on Tyneside. I've had an interesting night on Tyneside. I think I went for my stag do and got into a bit of fisticuffs under the Tyne Bridge many years ago, and that's what it felt like again watching that last night, and still recovering. But Bez and Brian, really appreciate your time. Thanks for your time this Sunday evening. Thanks to everyone who's watching and liking and supporting the show. Really appreciate it. You can catch this obviously on Acast, on Spotify, and obviously hopefully you watch it on YouTube. But thank you very much. Let's hope last week was a bad one. Let's hope this week is a good one. Another midweek. 2 home games starting on Wednesday, and then obviously Burnley. And then we go from there. So thanks very much, guys. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday evening, and see you soon. Come on, you Reds.
Man, remember. Giroud into the box, and they have immediately